Welcome to Podadelphia. My name is Dave Duro. You can find me on Twitter at @fat_lobster. And I'm joined by two guys who are careless with major awards.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Gene. I've been accused of being careless with many things in my life. I'm trying to recall if I've ever damaged an award, whether major or minor. Oh, I did. I had a soccer trophy from like age 10 that I played with the soccer ball until it fell off. So I am careless with major or minor awards. My name is Chuck Siders. You can find me on Twitter at Chuck Siders. You can find the show at Podadelphia.
And I'm Gene Zelak. You can find me at Producer Gene. And the only thing I'm careless with is a careless whisper. As you can tell, I've been listening to a lot of. It was Valentine's Day weekend, and so I was listening to a lot of 80s. I'll be honest. I was listening to Delilah the other night. You know,
What, did you say Delilah?
Yeah, love
Nice.
someone tonight. I think that's her tagline.
Okay.
Yeah. I learned everything I know about radio from Delilah. Let's be honest. That woman.
That explains your sultry voice.
I know she's been killing it for like 3 decades. So, yeah. Oh, also, if you want to find the show, it's at Podadelphia on Twitter. So you can tweet us your favorite 80s or Delilah dedication, and I'll pass it along.
Right on. What do you think about Brady tossing the Lombardi Trophy, over just a body of water like that? Does that mean, if anybody would know how to handle the Lombardi Trophy, like its weight, its dimensions, the way it behaves, it would be Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, even 3 sheets to the wind, he could, calculate, wind resistance and make sure that was on a smooth trajectory. What does he care? He has 6 spare ones.
What happens if it falls to the bottom of the sea?
I'm sure one of those knuckleheads in Tampa Bay would have gone down there and got it.
Yes.
And then it would have been in like Joe Schmo's living room, being like, "I got the Brady Lombardi right here. You can come and see it. It's a little rusty. It's a little rusty, but you can come and see it."
Chuck, I guess you're the one to ask this. Off the top of your head, what is the worst thing the Stanley Cup has endured?
The Stanley Cup has been pooped in.
By a human?
Yes, by a human, by a baby, probably an adult too. But we can confirm that was someone's baby. I believe that happened actually more than once. Many babies have been baptized in the Stanley Cup.
Are you sure you weren't potty trained with the Stanley Cup?
I was not. They're, just about 3 years too late. 3-4 years too late.
That relegates the Stanley Cup to the status of like a Wawa cup that you find in the back of the car. You're like, oh my God, I gotta go so bad. Like, what do I have back here? It's like, Wawa 20-ounce paper cup. It'll have to do.
This was a baby that went in it, and then B, I like, do you poop in a Wawa cup?
A 20 ounce has got a big enough mouth. I think you can make it work.
It's not the mouth, it's the volume I'm concerned about. But back to the Stanley Cup, I believe it ended up at the bottom of a lake. I know it ended up at the bottom of Mario Lemieux's pool, in bed with Sidney Crosby. It's has it been the Studio 54? I think it might have been the Studio 54 as well. So.
Yes, there's a lot of DNA on that thing, is what we're saying. I was thinking about the Tom Brady thing, and I can say this as a person who's done some stupid stuff with a lot of shots of Goldschlager in them. The main thing is you have to be happy that he was the person throwing the trophy and not the one trying to catch it, because we know that that's
a good point. It's a good point.
Bad hands.
All right. So enough about Tom Brady. We talked enough about him last week. Let's talk about the Flyers. What is happening? I haven't seen them in a long time.
Dude, they've have been undefeated since that Capitals game. Only before that, right? So they got back on the winning streak with the Capitals. And Travis Sanheim is on a winning streak. He has left the COVID restriction list. Currently on it, and we are recording on Tuesday, Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, the 16th of February 2021. This will probably be different when you listen to it. But so far, currently out, Claude Giroux, Braun, Voracek. They list Frost here, but he was injured anyway. I guess he has COVID, and that sucks to be injured and COVID. Oscar Lindblom. Hypothetically, his immune system should be fine now, but that's still scary. Scott Lawton and Travis Konechny. Coming back off the list and hopefully returning to practice tomorrow is Sean Couturier, Phil Myers, and Nick Alblé-Kubel. I think I've been listening to too many school closing lists. I had very much that cadence going for me there.
Tina's daycare, 2-hour delay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll consider Coots, Myers, and NAK a 2-hour delay. So yeah,
man.
The Flyers got the Rona.
And they have a game Thursday that we believe is going to be played, correct, against the Rangers?
Yeah, it's all indications are that game will be played unless more names go onto the list. They must feel pretty confident that that's not going to happen. I don't quite know why they're confident that's not going to happen, but hopefully no more names go on that list. And if that's the case, yeah, the Flyers will play the Rangers on Thursday. They will.
So any of those guys that you mentioned that are on the COVID list currently, do we expect them to come off for this game, or we expect them to still be on the COVID list?
We expect them to still be on the COVID list. AV was saying he was counting them out. I don't know if
this is a great opportunity for Cam York.
Well,
he's
not exactly
in
how we
college.
wanted him to make how we wanted him to make his debut, I guess.
Well, it's not, and he won't be. We don't really need the defenseman. We're just missing Braun, and Derek Pouliot is on the taxi squad now. Maybe Zaid Williams lighting it up. 2 goals. Zaid Wisdom lighting up at the Phantoms with 2 goals. That'd be fun if he came up. He won't be. Right now we have David Kasha and a handful of other people, but we are missing 4 out of our top 9 forwards.
So is this cause for like some local firefighter league that's over in Cherry Hill to start holding like an open call? Is it going to be like what was that movie? Invincible style? Will there be like luchador masks and skates trying to attract the attention of AV as every South Jersey meathead tries to?
We're tailgating the Flyers tryouts. I'll break out Green Man. We're doing it.
Gotta be Orange Man.
Man. Yeah, that's right.
And Gene, man, you love nothing more than a good hockey story. Like you would do for a good 3 years in Ontario when it's like just the boy coming off the pond onto the rink. You're a sucker for that. I
do. I love that shit.
We won't be seeing any of that, but the Phantoms game for Friday has been postponed because too many Phantoms are going to be on the Flyers and on the taxi squad. So that's not great, but it's
why
a
they're
good
there.
matchup.
It's why they're there.
Yeah, it's why they're there, and it's a good matchup. I mean, the Rangers have probably been playing the worst hockey in the division. It's gotten a little better, but they're probably the weakest team in the division. We haven't played them yet. This will be the first time. So to get your legs back under you, there certainly can be worse opponents like the Boston Bruins at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, when's that game? That's
Sunday.
That's the 21st, right?
Yep.
So how does that series work? Like, are we playing 2 that day? How does it, or is it just
no, just one? This is what they're doing in lieu of a Winter Classic this year. 2 outdoor games at Lake Tahoe. One on Saturday, one on Sunday. The Saturday game is, don't hold me to this. It's Vegas versus somebody. I forget. It's Vegas versus somebody. On the Saturday game. Sunday is Flyers versus Bruins, unless somebody else gets sick on the Flyers, and then it's going to be the Rangers going to Lake Tahoe.
So no fans at Tahoe?
No fans. I mean, maybe they'll have like little bandstand of
Yeah.
people's family or team people, but no real fans.
Have you seen anything about like what the setup looks like there?
I haven't. I've just seen aerial shots. It'll be on the 18th hole. I don't know, 18th or 9th hole.
Mhm.
One of the ones that like sort of end the course looking out onto a lake. It will not be played on the lake. There's no way they can do that safely or guarantee that they do it safely. But it'll be looking out from the golf course onto the lake there.
The Boston Bruins have drowned in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, a Gritty will be coming. Gritty will be at Lake Tahoe, so that should be fun.
He's going whether it's the Flyers or the Rangers. He's either going to be rooting on the Flyers or tormenting the Rangers.
That's a good thought, Gene, because Gritty's official Twitter he didn't mention anything about the Flyers. He said, "I need some me time. I am taking a vacation. All I do is give and I give and I give, and I need to take care of me." So he's going to Lake Tahoe. So
I mean, I am interested in seeing Gritty sort of out in nature.
Yeah,
and that's not we haven't gotten to see very much of that. Gritty in the woods.
No.
It's natural habitat. I don't know if that's his natural habitat.
I thought his natural habitat was like rafters in stadiums. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, I think that's where he was born and lived canonically. But yeah, it'll be fun to see.
Was Gritty bred in captivity?
I don't know.
Free Gritty?
Well, Gritty's dad, Youpie, is still in control of all of his finances, and that's just a mess. It really is.
Oh man, that's like Dustin Diamond's parents.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh yeah, like they kept all his money and stuff. He only got like a pittance from his child actor days and stuff. I just don't want to see Gritty fall in that same. Yeah, I don't want to see him fall in that same trap. Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about the Flyers before we?
Here is a question about the NHL, though. I mean, with the Flyers now having missed so many games, how are we supposed to tell where they are in the standings? They're going to be. I mean, that's a lot of math for an idiot like me.
Well, thankfully, the NHL has done it for you. On the website, they now list point percentage. The Flyers have a .692 points percentage, and that puts them second in division. They're also second in the division by points. But it's
missed
there.
all this time, they're still second in the division in points.
So they're saying of the possible number of points you could have obtained, you're at this percentage of points that you've earned of that.
Correct.
And then that's how they determine who's in first place in this division.
That's what really matters. Currently, it's still listed by points, but throw points out the window. I can't see the NHL making up as many games as they need to in this time frame. So just trust points percentage. And yeah, the Flyers have won 69.2% of their games.
Oh yeah,
nice. Yeah. But so that's what really matters. I felt morally obligated to make that joke because it's just such a Twitter staple. And I felt like somebody at home would be listening to this and be upset that we missed that opportunity. I wasn't proud of it. I never said I was proud of it.
We never miss an opportunity.
That is true. But no, Flyers are hanging around second. And Gene, like you said, the Flyers have missed a lot of games, but so have the Devils. Consequently, so have the Caps, so have the Rangers. A lot of games have been Buffalo has missed several games. So that I mentioned.
The way the setup is if one team's sick, then their opponents obviously don't get to play either.
Correct.
They played each other, and because they were exposed to each other. See, it sort of works a little bit to the division's favor since you're not sort of crossing into these other divisions. They can sort of continue on with the schedule, and you still have a product to put on every night, even if you've got one division sort of shut down.
Well, is a team, the Flyers have been off for so long. Is that an advantage?
I don't know. It's for the Flyers. I don't think it's an advantage, especially since they were just finally getting their footing back. So you hate to see, okay, the Flyers are looking like they're finally trending in the right direction. Hey, everybody take a week off. You know,
What about
that's
injuries though?
well, there are injuries like Couturier getting healthy. That's good.
Right.
Frost is not coming back anytime soon. That doesn't matter. But Couturier getting more rest is good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big thing in the long run. I was going to say is, Gene, on your point, they have this division alignment for exactly this reason, to keep them segregated, to keep, disease outbreaks to one division at the very least. And, they do these series now. I forget who it was. I think it involved the Blues. I could be wrong. But just finished a 7-game series out west. So their opponents couldn't play. So they just said, keep going.
Wow.
So they rescheduled games on the fly to just keep playing, 2 healthy teams to keep playing. And that could happen again. But if, let's say,
I wouldn't be down with that at all if that was my team. I would say no. We're taking the rest. That's not our fault that our opponents can't,
yeah, but you
can't
might get
socially distance or whatever.
You're not going to play more games than them, I would get, or not many.
They're not going to make up all these games. So
no, they're not. They're not. That was the point I was going to make about the point percentage, and the other point on that.
But that's my point to the advantage. Like, is a team that has had COVID issues throughout the season, do they have less wear and tear on the tires come playoff time?
Well, that's the point I was going to make. I think it'd be more of a divisional concern. So let's say the East Division plays, 8 fewer games than the Canadian Division.
Right.
That could be a big advantage when we get to what would be the Stanley Cup semifinals. That could definitely be a big advantage.
So do you think they're going to ensure that everyone in the division plays the same number of games as everyone else in the division? However, they're not going to hold that division beholden to the same number of games as every other division.
I think that's plan number 1. And that's just going off of my own logic and
it makes sense.
I heard. I think plan number 1 is to try to get the division lined up. And if for some reason that can't happen, then it's just going to be points percentage. But I think just with the current setup, if they can go, all right, the Penguins need 1 more game, Philly needs 3, Devils need 3, Buffalo needs 1. Maybe they might even change up the opponents just to make it work out that you've played the same amount of games. I think that'll be the first goal. Second goal will just be points percentage.
Yeah. Does anyone know what happens to the TV revenue? Is there any concessions that get made with that? Do teams get less money if they play fewer games that are televised? I don't expect anyone to know. I'm just asking the question because I hadn't thought about it until just now.
I don't know, but I know it was something talked about. Especially going into the bubble. And with the regular season being canceled so late into that season, it was amended, but we were halfway through March. The NHL only had another month. So these local rights holders were missing out on revenue from these games. So there was the thought that round robin series and to a lesser extent the play-in series that was being done for local revenue, but I can't swear to that. I can't even recall if that's how that worked out, but there was talk about that.
Let me ask you guys this. The United States of America currently is vaccinating 1.6 million people per day. I know there's a lot of sensitivity around like, when can I get the vaccine? When am I eligible to get the vaccine? How would you feel if the United States said, look, we're gonna vaccinate all pro athletes right now. So, your games will be on when you want them to be on. The schedule will be fine. You can gamble, whatever. All your bets will be, based on the actual games on, like all this stuff. You schedule this stuff. You can count on it happening. We're just going to do that just to ease the road for the rest of the way. And think about it this way. We're vaccinating 1.6 million people a day. Pretend you have to wait 1 extra day to get your vaccine. Would you sign up for that? Or would you think like, no, wait your turn pro athlete. You can be just like everybody else.
I think the optics for the leagues would probably be bad. I think that especially some of the more socially conscious leagues, so not the NFL, I think that they want to, give off a, we're all in this together, we're all united sort of vibe. So I don't know that they would necessarily be able to get the play. And it's what it would come down to is that you're going to have to get the players unions to sort of buy into this. I also think that you're going to find, because you always do when you start to uncover, turn over these rocks, you're going to find that there are some of your favorite athletes that don't necessarily have the same beliefs in vaccination that you do. And I don't know that you're going to be able to mandate that all these athletes get vaccines, because I think some of these athletes, they may opt out, and that may create sort of a shitstorm, for lack of a better term, that you're not really expecting.
Fair point.
That is a fair point. I don't think it would realistically happen, just because of what Gene said, and I know the NHL said, "Oh, we're not looking to jump in line." Personally, I'd be fine with it. Personally, I'd be fine with it. Not just for my own entertainment, but for the entertainment of the world. I mean, this is comfort food for so many people, and they're plodding on through TV and film production so that people have something to watch. Well, and so again, to make money.
No, I hear, and I'm not even just talking about sports too. I mean, like, look, if you want to, vaccinate the cast of Survivor before they go. Yeah. What is it, 20 people? Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, but by the time all this happens in the summer, it's like there's going to be so many people vaccinated. It's just going to all come out in the wash, I feel like. You're talking about like one day. Like, oh my God, like one day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mental health benefits of routine are huge. I can't tell you how happy it made me to find out that they taped the new season of Top Chef. It's not coming around until, I think, April 1st.
Right.
But there was a show that I was worried that, like, we're not going to get a new season of Top Chef. I really look forward to that in the spring. Thank God something. Thank God that I feel bad for these players. I feel callous that they're risking their health. But I got to tell you, it's good to be able to – I've missed not being able to turn the Flyers. I've missed, having only one team in town, and they're not in town. They're on the West Coast. Like, it's just so much comfort to be able to throw on a game when I get home. It just, for my mental health, for the nation's mental health, I say let's vaccinate the athletes who will not get vaccinated.
Sign me up. I'm into it. Keep us talking about stuff. I don't want to talk. I don't have another week where I have to talk about a team that didn't play for a week.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It sucks. You know what else sucks? When one of your all-time legendary players goes on to be a general manager of your rival.
Yes, indeed.
And we didn't talk about this last week.
No, we didn't.
Did it happen before we aired last week, or
yes, it did.
I think it was the day.
Yeah, I think probably right before.
Or the day before, but yeah, I mean, it was on the agenda. We just didn't get around to it. I mean, how does this make you feel?
I'll let Gene lead with that, because this is personal for him with Penguins hatred and Hextall love.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I unabashedly and unashamed went to the Hextall, when he had his. I don't think it was a number retirement, but he was, I guess, inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame. I was at the building, and I sort of was in the crowd, sort of cheering and weeping and sort of celebrating who was probably one of my very first favorite athletes. He sort of embodied everything that made me sort of love Flyers hockey. He had an attitude. He scored goals when he was a goaltender, which, I love when things that I root for do things that are unusual and seem superhuman. Granted, scoring goals as a goaltender against open nets, less superhuman than, like web crawling or flying. But, to my 7 or 8 year old mind, it seemed incredible. And I just have such vivid memories of Hextall like going after players, like taking suspensions. His second tour of duty, coming back and playing, so well in that second time around, and then becoming our general manager and rooting for him to sort of resurrect what was a team that was on the decline. So, I'm sad about the way that the marriage ended between the Flyers and Ron Hextall as a GM. I knew someday he'd get another job. I was always hoping it would be someplace again like LA or San Jose or maybe even one of the Canadian teams. To see him go to not only a rival, but the Penguins, man, that is there is nothing in my DNA that is yellow and black. There is nothing in me that can make me want to celebrate anything good happening to the Penguins. So, for his tenure in Pittsburgh, he is the enemy as far as I'm concerned.
Gene, our foremost rival team hatred expert.
Yeah, I think so. I think he owns that. Yeah, I don't feel as passionately about it. I don't like it. It's no fun to see Hextall over with the Penguins, but I don't feel that passionate about it. What I do feel is it's fun to root against him.
Oh.
Yeah, because he left on such a weird, sour note that to go to Pittsburgh, it was like, when he left the Flyers, or when he was fired from the Flyers, it was like, I have all these conflicted emotions. He goes to the Penguins. Like, thank you for unconflicting me. You were in no shape to play a hero, so you're going the Richard III role and playing the villain.
Right.
Embrace it. I will hate you. I'll root against you. It'll be great.
So, obviously, we have to compare this to relationships. Ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, whatever. Is this more like, oh, yeah, well, good luck with that, Pittsburgh, because let me tell you something. He looks good now, but wait till, the bloom is off the rose and, he's not doing the dishes, and it's, uncomfortable walking around the house at night. Yeah, whatever. I don't even know how to draw that out any further.
Walking around the house and you just feel this tension between you. You still love him, but you kind of hate him a bit, and you don't know what to do with that.
Stop watching Forged in Fire. Let's watch something legitimate. Stop it.
I think it might be a little bit of one of those things where this was for some of us it might be this is that girl in high school that you got to date, but then you went off to college and you sort of parted ways, and you thought you might get back together in your 20s, and it just didn't work out. And and she ends up with with a guy in town, and you still have to see her all the time. And he's rich and he's got all these Stanley Cups, and he always wants you to come over and see them, and you're like, bro, I have my own Stanley Cups. Granted, they're old, but I do have them. They're in the garage. But I'll get a new one when I get a new paycheck, when I get a paycheck or whatever. And you ended up with the girl who you met on Tinder and knocked up. So that's we all make decisions. We all have to live our lives, because that does seem like a Flyers fan move. You think you swipe right just to sort of get through the night, and maybe I'm exposing too much about my personal life, but
oh my god,
yeah. So
let's get through this night.
This segue has gone off the rails, Dave. What were you trying to get to before Gene and I got?
Well, before I move on, I just wanted to say, we're looking for a new coach. Ron, what do you got? It's there's this guy who runs an equipment store that my kids used to buy all their hockey equipment from, who knows quite a bit about the sport. I think he'd be a good fit. But anyway, I was trying to draw an analogy here for us on this post Valentine's Day episode about people in our, people involved with our sports teams that have broken our heart or betrayed us somehow. So I thought, for a Valentine's Day-esque episode, we could talk about those figures that we've come across in our experience as Philly sports fans that have broken our heart. So we've each kind of come up with a few examples, and I don't know who wants to kick it off.
How about you kick it off, Dave? You never kick things off.
Me, I'll kick it off. Okay. I'm gonna. Should I do this one? Because I'm just gonna steal it from Gene. I want to talk about. The first one that came to my mind was Scott Rowland, and was he on anyone else's list?
He was number 4.
He was number 4. Okay. All right. So I'm glad I brought him up.
He was number 5 or 6 for me.
So Scott Rowland was that player after the 93 team that I was finally able to latch on. It's like, we suck at scouting and it's really always terrible. We finally have this homegrown guy that we brought. He wins Rookie of the Year. I don't think I've ever seen a Philly win Rookie of the Year before. He plays that storied position in Philadelphia history of third base. He's won Gold Gloves here. He's been an all-star here. We go to re-sign him, turns down 2 offers, one for 7 years, $90 million, one for 10 years, $140 million, which is juggernaut cash back in, I don't know, what was this, like 02, 03, something like that, to go to the Cardinals. And then he utters the immortal phrase that Gene has dropped on this show.
Baseball heaven. I'm going to go to baseball.
I've gone to baseball heaven, baby. And then, not only that, obviously the Cardinals had tons of success while he was there. I got to read some article where he was like, he'd be willing to come back to the Phillies in 08. We got Pedro Feliz to play the position, but Scott Rowland would have been willing to come back then, where it was kind of like, all right, buddy, take a hike. Like, I knew where your thoughts, where your mind was when it really mattered, when the times were lean. This is through sickness and health, richer and poorer. You were not around. So for that, I felt like Scott Rowland, who was my favorite Philly at that time, really just tore my heart out.
Yeah, I completely agree. He was supposed to be like the first of something. He was supposed to be the building block for something great. And I mean, it's not his fault that nothing great was built around him, but it is his fault that he didn't give it more time. So yeah, Scott Rowland was a big love you and now I hate you.
Imagine what that team would have been though with Scott Rowland there too. I mean, that'd been like the greatest infield obviously in Philly's history, because
it was without
Joe Feliz is the greatest infield in Philly's history anyway. So,
but that would have been, you see where he would have slotted into that lineup too. You know what I mean? I guess you'd be fourth down or something. No, it would have been an interesting thought experiment.
Who's next?
Let's go to Gene. Gene, who's up for you?
Okay, I'm gonna do one of my. This is the one I think maybe one of you guys might steal, but the Eagles team, and I think it was the 03 team that lost to Rondé Barber specifically the last game at the Vet.
That was 0102. No.
I think it was either I think it was 03. I think it was the 02 season, and it was actually January of 03. The reason I remember this is because it was the day I was a winter graduation from college. So I graduated on a Sunday morning from university. And I remember being marching out of the convention center to the Phillies organ player, who was brought down specifically to play the Eagles fight song. As we marched out, we're green and white, and talk about like getting yourself fired up. You've got your diploma, your school colors are green and white. You've been discharged into the world as an adult with the Eagles fight song, and then to come home and settle in to watch that game with my pop. Oh man, what a way sort of to go down. There is no reason not to believe had they advanced past that game that they would not have gone on to win the Super Bowl. I absolutely 100%.
That was the Raiders Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. The Buccaneers went on to beat the Raiders, and to have it happen the way that it did, the idea of the last game at the Vet leading to a world championship would have just the first world championship. It would have been insane. That was a very good Eagles team by all accounts. And like I said, I really do believe that they would have gone on and won the Super Bowl that year. And I just cannot forget that interception. It's called the Barber game or the Tampa Bay game. And you remember all week leading up to it, they just told you how there was no possible way that Tampa Bay could travel and beat anybody in January. It just wasn't possible.
They never beat a team outdoors below 40 degrees or something.
Yeah, it just was not a thing that it would ever happen, which is an asinine statistic. But that's what they kept pumping. I mean, I think in the middle of the game, they were still like, well, the temperature might drop a few more degrees, which will automatically deduct 6 points from Tampa Bay. So the Eagles should be fine. No, but I mean, I think there's not a whole lot more to say to that other than, there was a lot of options for that era of Eagles. That one personally hurt the most. And I think
you shoulder anyone with that? Do you shoulder McNabb with that? Andy Reid? I mean, I guess those are really the options.
That's really your option. I think that maybe Reid, because I feel like he just didn't have the right game plan. I don't think that he was quite ready for Grudog, for Chucky in that game. It was a bad day. It was a bad day for the Eagles. It's one of those things where you sort of get maybe you were smelling your own headlines. You get caught in a spot. You get beat by a team that just is having a better day. I don't know, man, but that one stung.
Yeah, well, Gene, I know I mixed you up a little, or I got mixed up because that was a contender for mine, but I actually picked the year after.
Oh, okay. Now,
I picked
the year after.
03-04 lost to Carolina.
Oh yeah, that's the ones where you blame the cornerbacks.
Well, that one, I for the only time in my life, and I hope it remains the only time in my life, went back to a bar the next day to apologize for my language. The Eagles lost 14-3.
Oh God!
I think McNabb was 10 for 22 throwing. I screamed, "Catch the fucking ball!" repeatedly the whole game. And I think what makes it different than the Bucs game was I was getting paranoid leading up to the Bucs series game, leading up to the Bucs game, because they kept saying they have never won, under this temperature. I'm like, well, that's a jinx. That's a horrible jinx. And it wasn't yet the Eagles as this force in the NFC yet. Against Tampa, they had been to one previous NFC championship game the year before against the Rams. Against Carolina, we've gone, this is our third straight NFC championship game. And like, who the hell is this Carolina team? They're like
Delhomme.
Yeah. Like a footnote of history, and this was our time, our year, and it was so maddening. And I think that's a theme with mine. It's going to be big build-up and big letdown. Like, I had so much hope. That was the
I'll
year.
ask you the same question. Do you put it on McNabb, Reid?
I put it on. In retrospect, I put it on Reid because I don't like him. But the serious answer, I'd put it on Reid just because what did we blame him for at the time? In-game adjustments. It was always, I need to be better prepared, or I need to change it at halftime. I need to do a better job of adjusting to a defense that wasn't letting us throw the ball.
Right.
So they needed to do something, and they put up a field goal. That was it. And it was not like the Eagles were a low-scoring team. So that I'd put it on Reed. I'd probably put it on the Reed, and also we didn't have any wide receivers. The next year we went out and got T.O.
I mean, and we're talking about home championship games, right? Like outside of the Rams game, the other three were all in Philadelphia. So yeah, I mean those are tough to swallow. I mean, I think I think we're seeing how we interpret these, because mine are very like person centric. Like, you did this thing to me, you did this. So I'll keep it going with the Eagles though. So I'm actually gonna put Norman Brayman in. I'm making it like the penalty box. You're gonna be in my Valentine's heart box.
Your like shaped box, maybe.
My heart-shaped box. How do you let Reggie White walk away?
This was the first time I ever saw my father cry.
I mean, it's mental. I think that there were attempts to sign, but honestly, if could you imagine this happening in like today's sports environment? Like, just let a obvious Hall of Famer in, like, not prime, but certainly not twilight of their career, like like
want to be important parts of Super Bowl winning teams after.
Yeah, that. I mean, you're like maybe 60% through the greatness, which still leaves a lot to be, a lot of meat left on that Reggie White bone. But it's just inconceivable. It's like, and who the F are you? This like used car dealership creep from Florida, like trying to block stadiums from being built in Florida. Just, I mean, tearing the guts out of fans up here in Philadelphia. It's like, thank God that guy got out of the Philadelphia sports ownership business, where he had absolutely no place being whatsoever. So I mean, I just think like it's just gut wrenching that Reggie White wore another uniform in the end. I mean, like the Packers, it's pretty. I mean, it felt like pretty innocuous, and was that the first Super Bowl we all watched together?
It might have been.
Chuck, you and I think maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
I guess that was what, 98 then? 97, 98?
I think it's 96, 97.
Well, then we wouldn't have known each
97,
other.
98. Maybe it was 97, 98. But anyway, it was like right around that. I mean, that's how old we were. We were just going into college. And so, we had a great affinity towards those Eagles teams and that defense there. And it's just mind blowing.
Yeah. And it was a good call with Brayman there, because, when you first mentioned this, getting your heart broken topic, I thought of a lot of players who left, and Reggie was up there, but Reggie didn't break my heart. It wasn't, I didn't fault him for leaving. They should have done everything possible to keep him. They should have backed up however many money trucks he needed, or make whatever player personnel changes they needed to. It's not like the Eagles had won anything. It's not like, right, hey, we got our Super Bowl. You want this? Have a great career. But that was a good call there. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but because Reggie White leaving, and then I think he was on cover of SI the very next season. Him and Favre, like, starting.
Well, I know that when he left, he was on the cover, and it was like a paper doll thing. So you like all the jerseys that he, for the teams that he could go to.
Right.
That was the SI cover that I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, terrible. Gene, what do you got? Who else you got?
I'm going to put, maybe this is one of those things where I don't think we've put in a particular enemy combatant or an enemy player yet. I'm going to go with the less obvious, more recent Canadian, and I'm going to say Kawhi Leonard. The quadruple doink has quickly become one of those moments in sports I will not watch. No matter how many times they replay it, my hand cannot get to a remote fast enough. There's another moment in Toronto that I can tell you how many times I have watched that, because it's only 3. And the one time I had to, because I was in the goddamn Hall of Fame and they had it blasted. So I fear that this is the sort of thing, with Kawhi Leonard being as good of a player that he is, he's not going to go away anytime soon. And that, watching every time I did see that ball sort of bounce around, to a certain degree, it felt like it was karmic payment for all of the luck that the Eagles had sort of accrued over their 17 run, as if, somehow that Nick Foles lightning in a bottle. This was sort of like the cork falling into the bottom of that jug of wine finally, and making everything sour. Because honestly, that's another case where, and I know that was not the NBA, that wasn't the Eastern Conference Finals, but you got to think the way that Milwaukee played in that, the Sixers could have sort of made the same run that Toronto did. And then, Ben and Joel sort of ascend a little earlier than they would have. And we all have talked about it at length, that the Jimmy Butler experiment may not have been anything that was going to last for a long time. But by that point in the playoff run, it had seemed to have figured something out. They had sort of acquired some sort of momentum, and they took the eventual champions of the NBA to the 7th game last second. So it's a good team. And much like, and I just hate Toronto, as much as I liked being there to visit, I just hate their sports teams, because they, quietly seem to find these moments where they can really twist the knife on me. So Kawhi Leonard, you can go in my heart-shaped box.
There's something very unique about that play. And it's one of the few moments in my life that I could say, like, I felt my blood run cold as it was happening. And I think it is the quadruple doinkness of it, that your actual brain, like the synapses in your brain, have time to fire back and forth and back and forth, and then have a realization occur that, yeah, it's going in. I mean, it's just unbelievable. That's great. Jason has video of it on his phone from Toronto, but no one wants to see it. You can count me in that number too. I don't ever want to see it again. But
Kawhi Leonard's mom probably wants to see it. That's about it.
It is tattooed in my brain, and that feeling of my body going cold is something I'll never forget in my sports lifetime. And when I tell my grandchildren about that, that's going to be, I mean, it's such a visceral moment.
I can paint the picture, but I don't ever need to see it again. You know what I mean?
You don't need to.
You don't need to. It's there. Everything, I got it. It's on my chest. I don't need to watch it.
I mean, the only thing that would have made that even more heightened were to make it a conference championship or NBA finals. I mean, that's the only thing that could make that even more traumatic.
Like it had that weight. It really, I mean, in hindsight, it really does take on. I mean, it is the moment.
The fact that the Raptors won the championship, certainly adds, gravity to it that we didn't know at the time.
But if you think about that playoff run, that is the moment that you get shown. You don't get see nearly as many highlights from that finals or almost anything at all from that Milwaukee.
Well, if you're a Raptors fan, you're like, wow, it came that close to, I think the only other thing that would have made it more dramatic would be if it was to win or lose.
Right.
I mean, if he misses, they go to overtime, and who knows what happens. But yeah, that's a tough moment.
The only thing that maybe makes it slightly more painful than not being in the conference finals was that they didn't even make it that far. They were. Oh God, I don't want to harp on too much because we've already gone over it. But blood run cold. That's a good way to put it, Dave. But for me, that was eternal. Every doink was eternal until the third one, like you said, Dave, where it started looking like, oh crap, this is going to go in. And you can go, all right, Embiid's crying in the hall and people are making fun of him for it. And it was just a hard fought series. And you can't even go like, oh, what did we all accomplish this year? And yeah, it was a team to be proud of. It was a team to enjoy. But
That's bringing me down.
yeah, it didn't get us very far. Breaking your heart again. You want to change topics to something else that broke your
Yeah,
heart?
talk about some hockey heartbreaks.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because I'm not naming. My trend is not to name the people that hurt us. It's the one that got people that get hurt. It was the 96-97 Philadelphia Flyers.
I was hoping that you would grab this one because it certainly was.
I figured you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. It still hurts to this day. It was just expectations.
Totally winnable.
And what's what?
It's totally winnable. I mean,
well, it was. The Flyers had lost 3 games to get to the Stanley Cup final. 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. And then we get fucking swept. And I think along with a lot of people, were underestimating the Red Wings at that time because they had underachieved since like 93. 92,
oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about
93.
97.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
What year do you think
I
I
had
was
the
talking
wrong.
about?
I had the wrong. I thought you meant the what is it? The
What, the 2010?
Yeah,
or 04?
Yeah. Whatever the Blackhawks one. Yeah.
The Blackhawks one, that's most comparable to the quadruple doink with the Leighton goal.
Yeah.
Leighton goal. But that, at least they made it to the Stanley Cup final. They had that 3-0 comeback. They weren't supposed to make it that far. They sort of overachieved, and then everything went to hell. Lindros, this was supposed to be his first of many cups. He was the next one. You had the great one. You had Super Mario. Now it was the next one in Lindros, and it was his first Stanley Cup final, and it was supposed to be his first Stanley Cup win, and never saw it again. The Flyers wouldn't see it again for 13 years. And just to lose, just get your ass handed to you. And it was, we had no plan to beat the left wing lock. We lucked out on facing the trap, but I was certain that the Flyers were winning the Stanley Cup. I was certain of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just like, not only did we lose, we got swept, and in an embarrassing fashion against this Red Wings team that I know I was mocking. It's like, oh, they can't win. They had their chance. They choke it away. The Red Wings cannot win. Well, they certainly could. They won in 97. They won in 98. They won in 2002, I think. It's just, it hurts to this day, and they never got back. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2000, then again in 2004, and that was
it's one of those. I think that series is one of those things where it's like, in the moment, like, it hurts more now than it did in the moment, because in the moment you're like, well, we'll be back. I mean, it's Legion of Doom. We're gonna come back. We're gonna be even better. And now looking back and say, like, ow, that was that group's one chance. Like,
that was the high water mark.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that, and that does make it sting. That, I think, keeps the sting around.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone has ever fancied themselves good at poker, or just like, you really think you're hot shit at something, and you take, a couple $100, you sit down at the table and go, I'm going to show them. I've cleaned up all the house games. I've cleaned up all the limit games. Occasional low limit Omaha. I've cleaned up there. I'm coming to this no limit table, and I'm going to kick ass. And then you completely shit the bed.
And then you're flat broke in 15 minutes.
You're flat broke in 15 minutes. It's like the farting balloon noise just happened. And that was the end of it. And that was the end of that 97 series. Who thought this was a good idea? This is supposed to be fun. Now it's just like, hey Dave, what makes
we were going to
sad?
tell like funny stories about like, people that we were like mad at now, but didn't quite jive that way. All right, is it my turn?
Yeah,
it's your turn.
Okay,
your third.
I'm putting Billy Wagner I'm going to nominate Billy Wagner. I'm going to keep using that wrong vernacular. I'm going to say Billy Wagner for a couple of reasons. Well, so one is the way he left and some of the things he said about Philadelphia when he left, because I always held Billy Wagner in really high regard. When he was an Astro, I was really excited to get him. I feel like he's a fringe Hall of Fame closer. He had some great seasons with the Phillies, and then basically to come out and say you have to be perfect to play in Philadelphia. You can't give up a run. You have to hit a home run every time you're at bat. He was really sensitive about people wanting him to throw 100 miles an hour, which is, I mean, and I think like later in his life, he has come out and recognized his reaction to Philadelphia and his teammates in Philadelphia as somewhat childish. I know like Pat Burrell supposedly called him a rat, or somebody called him a rat when he left for the Mets, but whatever. But then on top of that was the 05 Phillies, who were racing against the Astros for the wild card. It was relatively new, I guess, then the wild card position in the playoffs. And we have a 3-game series against the Astros, and we get swept. And in the last game of that series, Craig Biggio hits a 3-run homer off of Billy Wagner to basically end our season. And then we finished 1 game behind the Astros in the wild card chase that year. So, I can forgive you for giving up that home run. But then you just had to like throw some salt on that wound by talking trash about Philadelphia fans when you leave to go to the Mets. So it's really like a triple heartbreak play there. So that I put Billy Wagner on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. That again, somebody started off so excited and then he left. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? like good riddance. I'm sorry we cheered for you when you threw the ball fast.
Gene, what do you got?
So and I Chuck, I hope that this doesn't snake your last your last one, but I'll go ahead and complete the Canadian circuit, and I will put what is probably, when you talk about Philadelphia heartbreak and you're of our age, the quintessential moment, unless you hate baseball, of our lives. And I got to be honest, it's hard to decide who you would want to put as the thing that broke your heart in this situation. Maybe it's Jim Fregosi.
Yeah, you got 3 options there.
I got to be honest. To me, it's not Mitch. I don't think he should have been in that game, and I think that I knew that then, and I know it now. Do you fault Joe Carter for doing exactly what he's paid to do? I don't know. But what I will say is that moment. That was, there is a definite break in my life. There is before the 93 Phils and there is after the 93 Phils. Specifically, so there is before Game 6 and there is after Game 6. And there is nothing more clear in my memory as being at my grandparents' house, watching that game, being the only one still awake in the house. My grandparents went to bed shortly after the news, I think, most nights. So that feeling of just watching this whole thing take place all by myself, and having been so in love with that team. Like, that was the first team, maybe the first thing outside of my immediate family that I truly loved. Because I had grown up with such bad baseball. There was no such thing as good baseball in my life up to that point. I was made fun of for wearing Phillies hats when I would go to school. When you would get assigned to Little League, if you got put on the Phillies team, that meant that you were going to clearly be, just by the color that you wore, even though they were the hometown team, you would have to be awful. It was not allowed that a team in my Little League be allowed to wear maroon and be good. so to sort of feel elevated that the Phillies had finally come along and they had produced so many heroes, Dutch Dalton, Lenny Dykstra, all of these guys that you just came to love, and then to just watch that ball go over the wall in Toronto, and just the way that Joe Carter ran the bases. This is, like I've told you, I've seen that moment 3 times since I saw it live when I was 12. 13. I don't need to see it again. I can see everything. The blue of the uniforms still makes my stomach turn. We went in a pilgrimage to Sky Dome. I think it was actually still Sky Dome then. To sort of sit in the place where our childhood ended. And I remember, and Jim Fergosi was there. He was managing the Blue Jays at the time. And I remember we were the only ones, but we were booing him when he came off the field. So I just feel like we couldn't have done this list without paying homage or putting into the ether, or putting into our heart-shaped boxes. Maybe the most heartbreaking one of them all. It was Joe Carter hitting a home run to beat the Phillies in Game 6 of the World Series in 1993.
It was definitely the only time I've ever cried based on sports. I mean, I wept myself to sleep that night.
I don't think I went that far, but I remember just staring up at the ceiling, going like, "Oh, I think you put it so well, Gene, when you said that we were like people before the 93 World Series and people afterwards, because
it was the end of innocence.
It really was. It was something I'm not going to get into with what I was talking about, but it was for some other contenders. It always felt like we just missed everything.
Right.
Being the age we were, born in 79 or 80, like you just heard about all these things that just happened. So you kind of always thought it was the next one was coming soon.
Yeah, the last championship was the 83 Sixers before 93 World Series.
Yeah.
There was no such, like, there was nothing in our consciousness that was a title. That wouldn't come until 08.
No, it wouldn't. But it felt like, okay, we've been waiting for a bit now. Now it's time. We didn't feel so like we're never going to win. We didn't feel so cursed, but it just seemed like, okay, now is the time. From a hockey perspective, it was like, I just missed the Broad Street Bullies. I just missed the Miracle on Ice. I just missed the 80 Phillies. I just missed the 76ers. The Eagles' only Super Bowl appearance at that time. And okay, now it was happening. 93 Phils. Everyone was caught up in it that had on Billy Penn, and
there it is.
Would Corey Matthews have been a Phillies fan if not for the 93 Phillies?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Chuck, bring us home.
That's the celebrity I most resemble, by the way.
That's true.
I can see that. That is very true.
That's true.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school that I think wanted me just because I look like Ben Savage. I played that to
Look, you got to take what you can get,
Exactly. It was way better than Screech, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of the dead tonight, that's what we're doing. I'm going to throw out a quick honorable mention. 2 teams, the U.S. women's national hockey team and the U.S. men's national hockey team, the teams that went to Sochi. Kelly Stack hit the freaking post in the empty net, and the women wouldn't win after dominating Canada for 4 years, but they won gold in 2018. That keeps it off the list.
I remember watching that game when it happened.
Oh, I was at work and was listening to it and watching the IIHF digital updates while that game was going on. And then the men's team that was playing a great Olympic tournament, and then Canada came and Dan Bilesman decided, hey, let's throw out everything we've been doing for success and try to win 1-0, and that's pretty much the score that I think the U.S. lost by. So those are honorable or dishonorable mention of American teams that made me sad. But we're going back to a hometown team. We're going back to the Philadelphia Phillies. and the 2011 Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh yeah.
It's tough because you know, it was always, if a team wins a championship, they get at least 5 years to do whatever. But when you're actually in the moment, winning it in 08, going back in 09, okay, 10, we fell a little short by not making it to the World Series, but it was just a little short. 11, this is the best Phillies team we've had of the lot. And it was like you turn your head and we were out of the playoffs. You know, it was that short series to lose it to the Cardinals and baseball heaven. And Anthony freaking Gargano talking about, like, this is the year. It's baseball heaven. You know, you look and you got Doc and you got...
It's the team you wait your whole life for.
Yeah, team you wait your whole life for. And a long weekend later, and they're out of the playoffs. And
that was the one where they lost that game 5-1-0, right?
1-0 with Roy Halladay gave up the first the inning gave up the run in the first inning too.
Yeah, and Ryan Howard's Achilles blew up.
It not only did it like end the it was so much like it in retrospect it became such that game, literally that game 5 sort of became like a microcosm of that whole experience, that whole era of baseball sort of just imploding or exploding like Ryan Howard's ankle. He was never the same. The pitching staff sort of broke apart. They just it's like they just got old before our eyes. It's like suddenly the Cardinals hit them with kryptonite and sucked up all their power, because I think the Cardinals went on and won the World Series that year, and I think again 2 years later. So it was crazy.
Yeah, it was like the Challenger, the Hindenburg. It was just going from, we are a perennial contender, we are the Yankees of the National League, we're going to buy whoever we need and whatever, and we'll be back there. And just like that, boom, over, done, window closed, and a lot of misery up until today. So I hope people are at least drinking for Mardi Gras. I hope, like,
I feel better now. I feel better now.
Yeah, I
got it off the chest.
I'm ready for Lent. I think I can quit thinking about bad sports moments. I think that's
you know what this is the perfect moment for is spring training. And pitchers and catchers report tomorrow if you're watching us. They report today if you're listening to us. So I mean, that's actually all the time we have for today. So we will be back next week where we're going to talk spring training. We're going to talk Odubel Herrera being at camp. We're going to talk Tahoe. We're going to talk Wentz trade, maybe. But here's your weekly reminder. If you haven't done so already, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Podadelphia. Be sure to check out and follow the Painted Lines for all your Philly sports coverage. And until next week, have a great day at work, everybody. We are out of here.